And we begin with Amazon, which still refuses to accept the results of the union election it lost over 2 weeks ago by more than 500 votes. On Friday, the company filed 25 objections to the proceedings with the National Labor Relations Board and called for a redo of the contest at the Staten Island facility, also known as JFK 8. Amazon claims the union threatened and harassed workers, that the NLRB failed to properly secure the vote, and here's a rich one, that the union handed out free marijuana to workers. Company whined that the NLRB, quote, cannot condone such a practice as a legitimate method of obtaining support for a labor organization. The union responded, noting that recreational marijuana is legal in New York, and thus handing it out is no different than distributing pro-union t-shirts. Well, perhaps Amazon should try handing out weed to workers on their own next time if they don't want to keep losing union elections. I'm not trying to give the company any useful ideas or anything, just from Amazon's perspective, the only way to stop a good union organizer with a joint is a bad boss with a joint. The Amazon labor union responded to the company's allegations, calling them without merit and accusing Amazon of engaging in stall tactics when it should be preparing to begin bargaining with the union. Quote, in these many objections, Amazon makes claims that are either misleading, trivial, or downright false. These claims will be investigated and dismissed, but not before weeks or months of NLRB time and resources are wasted. The union also provided its own list of unfair labor practices by Amazon during the election. The NLRB will determine what to do with these challenges in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the Amazon labor union has more work to do. In less than 2 weeks, a second warehouse in Staten Island, LDJ5, will hold an election. The union is trying to make it 2 for 2. Voting begins April 25th and lasts through May 2nd. And Amazon labor union president Christian Smalls told Yahoo News that this is just the beginning. He said employees at more than 100 facilities across the U.S. have contacted him about starting a union campaign. Smalls said he will hold a national call with the Amazon workers in the coming weeks to go over next steps. The union's leadership was in Washington, D.C. last week, meeting with more established labor groups. The Teamsters have since pledged to provide informal support, including money, to help the independent union continue to take the fight to Amazon. A report published earlier this week shed light on how the United States is seen by many capitalists around the world as the ideal place for tax evasion and money laundering. The Washington Post put out the investigation, pinning the blame on state governments. Wyoming, Delaware, and Nevada, among others, quote, are havens for hidden wealth, prized by company owners for their low incorporation fees, scant regulation, and offers of anonymity. Democratic Congressman from New Jersey, Tom Malinowski, told the paper, quote, some of these states have failed to ensure that the United States of America is not the number one destination for dirty money in the world. Wyoming received special attention from the Post because the number of registered corporations in the state has exploded in the past decade by a factor of more than 50, from 4,200 to more than 220,000. Corporate entities in Wyoming have ties to a wide range of sketchy figures, including oligarchs from both Russia and Ukraine, a disgraced Polish politician who resigned after being accused of selling bogus medical treatments to terminal patients, and, quote, a convicted felon who New York court records show had helped defraud investors by promising access to a $1 billion line of credit through an agent of the Nigerian government. Yeah, one of those guys. There's legislation on Capitol Hill that could shed light on dirty money squirreled away in the U.S. It was drafted by Malinowski and others last year and would require so-called registered agents to follow basic anti-money laundering rules that apply to banks. The Treasury Department also has the authority right now to issue a rule that requires all corporations in the U.S. to disclose who their real owners are. And they haven't done anything about it yet. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was grilled on the matter last week by Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, who wrote the bill that gave the powers to Treasury to do this. Maloney noted that the problem is so bad that Russian oligarchs could be dodging U.S. sanctions by moving their money into the United States.
So far, Treasury has not finalized any part of the rule and has only proposed half of it. This is deeply disappointing, especially because the sanctions on Russian oligarchs have shown the importance of being able to look behind anonymous shell companies to find these bad actors. And as we speak, Russian oligarchs are busy moving their money out of our reach, and in some cases, they're likely moving their money into the U.S. because they know they can hide it anywhere they want anonymously until Treasury finally finishes implementing my bill. We don't know who's behind buildings in New York and elsewhere, which are just bank accounts. There are no lights in the buildings. People don't live there. They're anonymous shell companies. And law enforcement wants to know. The public wants to know.
Well, wouldn't that be something? We accidentally solve the housing crisis by trying to own Putin. I wouldn't bet the vacant luxury condo on it, though. Maloney asked Yellen if the rule would be finalized by the end of the month. Yellen replied that it involved complex matters and a slew of public comments and said it would likely be finished by the end of the year. Until then, the world's biggest cheerleader of capitalism will remain a magnet for the world's scummiest capital. And finally, there will be distractions. That is the message from Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal announcing over the weekend that the world's richest man, Elon Musk, will actually not be joining the board of the social media company that Musk purchased an enormous stake in. Musk was asked to join the board earlier last week and accepted, but in less than 7 days, those plans were scrapped following a number of erratic tweets by Musk in news that his investment in Twitter may have violated SEC rules. The billionaire was 11 days late notifying the regulatory body of his purchase in Twitter. Rules require disclosure when someone buys more than a 5% stake in a company. Since Musk waited, he was able to continue purchasing Twitter stock at a deflated price, earning an estimated $156 million extra dollars. After being offered a seat on the board, Musk made a few posts that likely pissed off the company, including attacking the site's biggest accounts and suggesting Twitter might be dying. He also, in a since deleted tweet, floated the idea of turning Twitter's headquarters into a homeless shelter. Also, there's a chance that Musk simply failed a background check. In his statement, Agrawal said Musk's board seat was contingent on a background check, so maybe that's the reason it fell through. I mean, there is at least one incriminating photo of Musk with convicted sex trafficker and associate of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Whatever the reason for the fallout, Musk is likely to continue to take an activist investor role in the company. In an amended filing with the SEC late last week, Musk made moves that would allow him to purchase an even greater stake in Twitter and perhaps even attempt a hostile takeover. That could be what Agrawal was alluding to when he said distractions were looming. Either way, one conclusion we should all be able to draw from this episode: the rich have way too much goddamn money. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, if you want to see Means Morning News in its complete form, not just the clips we post here, head on over to Means TV and get access to all our new episodes and our entire backlog, plus tons of other great movies and original TV shows.